Welcome to Lay's Little Golden Books. I hope you all enjoy today's story, and maybe the grown-ups will remember it from their own childhood. Hanna-Barbera, Magilla Gorilla by Bruce R. Carrick. A Little Golden Book from 1964. Gorilla for sale. Magilla the gorilla sat in the window of Peebles' pet shop. He was happy because Mr. Peebles had brought him breakfast. Banana juice, banana omelet, toast with banana jelly, and to top it all off, a nice fresh banana. As usual, Magilla was hungry. "Magilla," said Mr. Peebles as he watched the gorilla eating, "you are the laziest, hungriest gorilla I have ever seen. You sit around all day in my window and nobody buys you." Mr. Peebles went outside and painted a new price on the sign. This morning he made it even cheaper. "Somebody ought to buy Magilla for $2.98. I spend more money than that every day on his bananas," muttered Mr. Peebles, looking up and down the street for a customer. Magilla was so pleased after his delicious breakfast that he sang a happy song at the top of his lungs. "Magilla, stop that awful racket! You're driving away all the customers," shouted Mr. Peebles, covering his ears with his hands. Just then, a man with a beard and a cape walked into the store. He bowed very low to Mr. Peebles and inquired in a majestic voice, "My dear sir, will you be so kind as to tell me who is singing such beautiful music? Whoever sings so well must also play an instrument. Tell me quickly." Mr. Peebles recognized the man as Maestro Califoot, the famous orchestra conductor. Mr. Peebles was so nervous that he could scarcely speak. He pointed at Magilla, who was still singing loudly. "Oh, yes, Maestro. I am sure that Magilla can play almost any instrument. Trumpet, flute, drum, trombone." "Trombone, did you say? Then he is the very gorilla I need. My first trombonist is sick, and I need someone to take his place for tonight's concert." The maestro threw a fistful of dollar bills at Mr. Peebles and grabbed Magilla, who was still munching bananas. When they reached the concert hall, the maestro gave Magilla a trombone and told him to sit down with the orchestra. "Are you ready?" asked the maestro. "Ready whenever you are, Maestro," called Magilla, hoping the maestro meant that a banana-eating contest was about to begin. While the orchestra played, Magilla tried to get a banana out of one end of the trombone by blowing into the other end. He huffed and puffed so hard into the trombone that first the banana came out and then a high, piercing note. The music stopped. The maestro looked at Magilla and then turned to the orchestra. "Gentlemen, we have a genius among us. I have never heard such a beautiful note come from a trombone. I don't think we need to practice any more before tonight's concert." Magilla wondered why the maestro was so pleased. After all, getting a banana out of a horn was really so simple. That night, everyone in town came to hear Maestro Califoot and his orchestra in the concert. The notices outside the hall had Magilla's name in big letters. Inside the hall, Magilla and the musicians were getting ready. They were putting on their bow ties and long coats with tails. Then Magilla began stuffing bananas into his trombone. "It's going to be a long concert," he said to himself. "If I'm going to sit here all this time dressed up in a funny suit, holding this brass banana case, I'll need plenty of bananas to keep from getting hungry." The concert began. It was almost time for Magilla to play his first notes. But Magilla was thinking, "My, how hungry I am!" He reached into the trombone and pulled out a ripe banana. When the great moment came, Magilla took a huge bite of the banana and leaned back to enjoy the music. There was a great silence as the orchestra waited for Magilla to play, but Magilla was busy munching. Magilla, you have forgotten your solo. You have ruined the entire concert, the whole orchestra, and most important, you have ruined me, shrieked the maestro. Magilla grinned and said pleasantly, Would you like a banana, maestro? By this time, the audience was very angry. They shouted, We want our money back! Then the maestro and the members of the orchestra began to chase Magilla. They almost reached him, but they slipped and fell on the banana peels Magilla had dropped on the floor. Magilla, using the trombone as a pogo stick, hopped off the stage and out the back door, the angry musicians and the maestro close behind him. Magilla hopped over 2 taxis and over a bus. He knocked over a flower stand and scared a horse. All the time he kept munching bananas and throwing the peels behind him. At last he got away from the angry mob. I must get back to my dear old friend Mr. Peebles, thought Magilla. I'm always safe at his shop. Won't he be surprised to see me? When Magilla arrived at Peebles' pet shop, Mr. Peebles was waiting for him with the door open. He didn't look happy or surprised. Magilla, it was so nice and peaceful without you today, said Mr. Peebles. No bananas to buy, no lazy gorilla to feed. I was so happy that I decided to listen to a concert on the radio. Magilla! Mr. Peebles was yelling now. How could you do this to me? But Magilla didn't seem to be listening to what Mr. Peebles was saying. He was sniffing the air. Goodness, Mr. Peebles, I'm awfully hungry after that concert, and I smell some bananas. Would you mind bringing me some banana stew, some banana salad, a scoop of banana ice cream, and, well, maybe a couple of bananas? Mr. Peebles sighed a long sigh and then walked back to the kitchen. Soon Magilla was enjoying a big dinner. He'd never eaten one that tasted any better. The end.